Self-doubt can sabotage the best laid plans, the most inspiring vision, the greatest determination to do good. We all experience self-doubt. It's just part of being human. The problem isn't experiencing it. The problem is falling for it, believing it, letting it derail your future and your progress. Today, we're taking a deep dive into self-doubt. It's the last of the 5 obstacles that we've been covering, the 5 common obstacles that underpin our stories and that ultimately keep us stuck. And as we understand these obstacles and understand the stories that they create, we can unlock deep and lasting change. So if you are ready to explore self-doubt, let's dive in. So first, let's explore doubt. What is doubt? Doubt is skepticism that focuses on a possible negative outcome. And if it's strong enough, it can compel us to reject our current course of action, right? And so it challenges the strength of our motivation to make sure that the benefits will outweigh the negatives, right? It's kind of measuring that equation. And if it doesn't feel strong enough, then doubt kicks in. Self-doubt is that same sort of negative possibility applied to yourself and the results that you're seeking in your life, right? So self-doubt is that maybe questioning the belief that, can I really do this? Will this really work for me? Am I a person that can do this type of thing or make this type of change that I'm seeking in my life? This becomes problematic when we believe that self-doubt and react to it and react to the emotion that it creates instead of navigating our way through it so we can get to the other side and ultimately accomplish what we want to accomplish. That is doubt, and that specifically is self-doubt. So as with all of these 5 obstacles that we've been covering, doubt also has a role in our survival. This is a survival mechanism. Doubt in general keeps us from blindly accepting what others are saying. It keeps us from being misled or taken advantage of, and it motivates us to question and to try things out for ourselves. That's a very healthy energy. We want doubt in our lives. We want skeptics are welcome, right? It encourages us to try things, to test things, to question things so that we can continue to discover and learn. That is a really, really good and healthy thing. One of the things we want to watch for, right, is when that doubt is applied to our own selves, to our own goals, to our own vision, right, for the life that we want to create. And we want to build some skill around how to manage that doubt in a healthy way, right? We don't want to get rid of it because it serves a purpose, but we want to bring some skill around how we manage it. So let's talk about what that unskilled response and the skilled response looks like when it comes to doubt. So let's first talk about the unskilled response. The unskilled response always for any of these obstacles is to believe the story, is to fall into the story, to collapse into the story. What that looks like is when you believe you don't have any choice. This is just the way that it is, right? There are no options available, right? That's usually what the story looks like. It takes away choice when you believe the story. So for example, stories of self-doubt are, I can't, I'm too fill in the blank, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not fill in the blank enough, right? Those are the stories of self-doubt. So if you apply that to wellness as an example, I can't exercise. I am not athletic enough, or I can't trust myself around food, or I don't have enough willpower or self-control, right, to eat the way that I want to eat, right? Those are all stories. And when you collapse into that story, it keeps you stuck, right? I just can't exercise. I'm just not athletic enough, right? Or I just can never trust myself around food, so I'm not going to be able to eat healthy, right? That's a story that's keeping you stuck. But the good news is it is just a story. And notice how that story makes it about you, right? It makes it about you, and then it creates you as the thing to doubt, right? As the object of the doubt. I'm not athletic enough. There's no such thing as a person who is athletic or not athletic enough. There's just a person who found the right exercise for them to be able to do it consistently, right? The right exercise that makes them feel good and that allows them to be consistent with it, right? It's not like certain people can trust themselves around food and certain people can't. It's just finding the skills that allow you to have that peace with food, right? So it's not about the type of person you are. And so there's not a need to doubt yourself, right? No self-doubt is required. And when you let go of that story, I'm just a person and I can build the skills, I can find the right tools that work for me to achieve my health goals. Let's go. Let's find those, right? That's the beginning of shifting out of the story. So let's look more specifically at the skilled response. Okay, so we know what the unskilled response looks like. Let's talk about the skilled response. And as again, with all of these obstacles, the first step in the skilled response is always to notice when you've collapsed into the story. Which again, anytime you feel stuck or it just feels like you can't change, that's a moment to get curious. What's the story I'm telling myself? Because the reality is there's so many options available to me, right? I always have a path I can take. I always have something I can try. So what's the story that's keeping me stuck? That is the first step, just recognizing that, pulling yourself out. Okay, step one. Step two, we've got a sequence of 4 things that you're going to work through. So the first of that 4-sequence process is to notice the underlying emotion, right? So are you feeling discouragement? Are you feeling comparison? What's the underlying emotion that you're feeling in that moment of self-doubt? And from that space, it can be helpful to ground yourself in the change curve, right? So we've talked about this in another video, but you always, when you begin a change, start with uninformed optimism, right? You recognize that this change is exciting and you have a lot of energy and motivation around it. You don't know exactly what it's going to take, so you're very optimistic and but a little bit blind, right? Blind optimism. And then you begin this change and you start to feel the resistance, right? Which then you begin to go into informed pessimism, because now you're experiencing the obstacles, you're experiencing discouragement, you're experiencing comparison of people who are ahead of you on the journey, right? And you're starting to feel that informed pessimism, which then leads to this valley of despair, right? This valley of despair where you feel a lot of discouragement, you feel stuck, and it feels, right? Those stories really are alive in the valley of despair. But as you keep going, you start to have informed optimism again, right? Now it's informed because of all these things you've tried and you're starting to get optimistic and eventually success, right? The only way through that valley of discouragement is to keep going, the valley of despair, right? So noticing the emotions in step 1 that you're experiencing can just help ground you in the reality that maybe I haven't crossed that valley yet, right? I'm just feeling that discouragement as I feel the initial resistance and the initial obstacles. Okay, so notice the emotions and care for those emotions. See what support you might need, right, to support those emotions. The second thing to do is depersonalize, right? Remember, again, the stories, the self-doubt makes it about you. Well, I'm not a person, I'm not coordinated enough, right? I can't, I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. That's the story of self-doubt. And to step out of that self-doubt and be able to say and change that story into something like, again, with the exercise, I am a person who can exercise, I just haven't found the right one for me, right? I'm not coordinated enough to play tennis, but I can walk. Anybody can walk. Right? For me, I held that story. I'm not coordinated enough. I'm not athletic enough. But guess what? I can run. Anyone can run. Right? So when you depersonalize that it's not about you, it's about finding what works for you. Right? And you are a person who can exercise. You are a person who can eat healthy. And so find the things that work for you. Right? It's possible. You just have to find what works for you. Right? Depersonalizing it. That's step 2. The third thing in this 4-step process is to hold the vision, right? Reground in the vision. What was that thing, right, with the uninformed optimism that led you to begin this change in the first place? And reground in that. And take the time to cultivate that vision and get that clarity in where you want to go and what you want to achieve and what that will mean to you, right? And how that aligns with your values and your purpose. And when you hit those moments of despair and discouragement, you can go back, you can hold that vision, right? And remind yourself, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing it. This is what this is for. This is my deep yes, right? So holding the vision, grounding in that. And then the 4th thing is actually to listen to the doubt. Listen to it. Let that be a part of your process because it might have important pieces of information for you to think about, right? So for example, maybe I picked tennis at first as the exercise I wanted and realized like this is taking a lot of energy because I'm not very good at it. Maybe if I started running, it'd be easier, right? So letting the doubt give you little bits of information, but not run the show and not take you off the path, right? That is where having guilt be a part of your process and a companion on your journey can be okay and can be healthy as long as it's not driving. So those are the 4 steps. You're going to notice the underlying emotion. You're going to depersonalize the story of the self-doubt that you're hearing, right? Make it not about you. You're going to hold the vision, and you're going to listen to the doubt and let it inform you, but not let it drive your journey. Okay, so let's talk about a couple supporting skills that will help you as you overcome self-doubt. The first one is to be all in on you. You are worth investing in. You are that person who can achieve great things. You are that person who can make change in your life. You are that person who can achieve your health goals, who can achieve your professional goals, who can achieve your social goals, right? Whatever those are, you are that person. So be all in on you. Don't wait for anybody else to take that step for you. You take it first and be all in on you. That's the first skill. The second skill is to change your relationship to failure. Give yourself permission to make mistakes, to mess up, to be imperfect, and to try again, right? It's the difference between getting back up or giving up. Be the person who gets back up, where failure is just part of the process. Because when you're in that valley, right, informed pessimism, I'm experiencing the obstacles, and I'm in the valley of despair, the way you get out of that is by trying and making mistakes and getting back up, right, and trying again, and learning and adapting until you eventually cross the valley and you've learned. That's where the informed optimism comes from, is because you've learned all of that stuff through the mistakes and the failure and the imperfection and the getting back up. So change your relationship to failure. So the next time you notice any of these stories, I can't, I'm too blank, or I'm not enough, fill in the blank, notice it for what it is. It is simply a story. It's a protection to keep you from being taken advantage of or being misled, right? Even maybe from making a mistake, right? It's just a protection. And so as you notice that story, you can step out of it. And then you can go through the process, noticing the underlying emotion, depersonalize the story, reground and hold the vision, and then listen to the doubt within to hear what wisdom it has to share, but don't let it drive, right? That's our 4-step process. And then don't forget to be all in on you, because you are worth it and you can do it. So I'd love to hear a comment below. Let me know one area where you struggle in self-doubt and one thing that you might want to try from today's video to help you overcome and understand that story and ultimately overcome the doubt in your life. Don't forget to click subscribe for more videos on how to achieve a life of health and well-being that are centered in cultivating self-trust and inner wisdom. And if you're interested in learning more about coaching, if you want that additional help on your journey, sometimes it can be really hard to separate out of our stories, and it can be really helpful to work with somebody who can help you see your stories with more clarity and then decide what you want to change and what you want to adapt. So if you're interested in that, go to nourishwhoyouare.com. Sign up for a free coaching session just to experience what that would look like and to learn more about whether that's something that you want in your journey as well. The link is in the video description. Don't forget to click subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.